This podcast is part of the Big Heads Media Podcast Network. Go to bigheadsmedia.com for more great podcasts.
Welcome to Brew Crime. I'm Mike.
And I'm Beck.
And I'm Nina.
All right, this episode we are doing Vegas heists. So I think the episode's going to start with Nina's story.
Yeah, so a little intro into my story and my pairing for the story is Bellagio robbery that happened in 2010. And the name given to the robber is the Biker Bandit.
Ooh.
So the beer that I chose is, and I'm sorry about my pronunciation, is the Farmhouse Houblon. Houblon. Sounds about right?
Yeah.
6.3% alcohol. It says it's a strong organic beer. And, there is an English option. Whew. Brewed with malt, barley, and rye. This farmhouse style ale is fermented with both saison and wild, Brettanomyces yeast.
Close enough, yeah.
Sure. Our objective was to create a beer that would involve in the bottle and engage the beer enthusiast no matter where it was opened. Drink fresh to enjoy more of the dry hop aromatics and drink later for a more rustic farmhouse character. Goes great with cheese plate at the end of a long, hard day.
Yum.
I don't know why, but when I look at that label, it's from La Castor out of Quebec, but it looks like a cider bottle almost.
Yeah, I don't know. I literally picked it because the lady on the bike or on the image is riding a bike, hence my Biker Bandit. So let's crack it open. Let's see. Oh, it's surprisingly lighter in color than I had expected. I'm going to pass the bottle over to Beck and Mike.
Very cloudy orange color with an off-white head. Nina doesn't like it.
It's not my acquired taste, no.
It's got a fruity nose. It's got some like herbal aromatics. You kind of smell a bit of a funk in there. Maybe a bit of grain. Flavor though, it's pretty dry. There's no sweetness really in the flavor at all. There is some pith and some like light bitterness. Maybe some resin. I kind of expected a little bit of fruit flavor and some more funk from the Brettanomyces. When did this bottle get made? Oh, there you go. So they said to leave it in the bottle for a little more funk. And I don't know if this is the bottle date or it's probably the bottle date. And it's 09/03/16. So that's 2016. I'm not sure if it's 9th month or the 3rd month, but it's definitely been in this bottle for a while to build that funk like they said. So if it was a fresh bottle, it would not be this dry and funky. Mm-hmm. It is nice though. It's just, I think if it was a little newer, it would have a little more body, a little more fruit notes. It's nice though.
Cool.
I do like La Castor. I don't get much of their beer, but yeah, they're good.
Okay, so I'm just going to hop right into it.
Hop right into it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Zoom into it.
Yes. So I found there's quite a few articles talking about their Biker Bandit, but the one that I kind of found most well put together anyways was an article that I found on the Rolling Stones. So I'll include that source there just so you can see more information on all that, but I picked up bits and pieces. So of course I'm going to be talking about the, quote, Biker Bandit. And if you literally think of like badass heists that you'd see on television, I think that's what this fucking moron tried to do. Mind you, it did work. But there's a couple things that he had done that weren't probably of sound mind, of good ideas. So he's ended up stealing actually $1.5 million worth of casino chips from the Bellagio during the brazen heist on December 14th in 2010.
Wow.
Yeah, it was crazy. So he's a 29-year-old Anthony Carleo, spelled Carleo. And I'm going to play the scene. I'll include a link to the surveillance video from the casino, because obviously you can see the whole thing. This fucking guy actually rolls into the casino entrance on a motorcycle, parks it in the center, walks up to a craps table, pulled a gun, demanded chips, and cleared out the table into his backpack, which was strapped to the front of his body, went back to his bike, and literally drove off down Sunset Valley.
Wow.
All within a couple minutes.
That's ballsy for sure.
But it sounds badass, right? Like,
yeah.
As far as a movie thing and like the excitement of that and pulling that off.
What are you going to do with a bunch of chips, though?
Well,
we'll get to it, I guess.
Slowly launder them through other people? I don't know.
Depending on the chips that you stole.
Yeah.
So I'll get into that, which is one of the issues, based on the chips that he stole. So before I get into kind of what led him up to this, just to give a little bit of background. So Carleo, he was actually the son of a former Las Vegas municipal court judge. When he was apprehended, he did confess to the crime. How he ended up getting caught, just so lame. But we'll go over it. So August 2011, a Clark County judge sentenced Carleo to serve from 9 to 27 years in prison for the Bellagio robbery and an earlier heist he committed at the Sunshine Coast on December 9th, 2010. So just to put that, on December 9th, he committed a crime, the Sunshine Coast, and I think I'll get into it. I think he stole $19,000 in cash. 5 days later is when he robbed the Bellagio.
Jeez.
And he said he was working off the high of that first robbery because he had seen some like pickpocketing, and he's like, you know what, I could probably do that. So he did the $19,000 cash grab, and you know, I can up this. A lot of the stuff that I saw is that he, during that couple day span, drinking lots of cocaine use right before going to Bellagio to do the robbery, basically just did a bunch of drugs, working off that high and like, yep, doing it. And he did it.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, he was caught on camera taking his helmet on and off, so they were able to identify who he was. So,
why would you take your helmet off? Jesus Christ.
Well, apparently it gets warm in there. But
oh, yeah, of course. Yeah.
But what's interesting is when he rolls up into the Bellagio, going up to the craps table and all of that, he had his helmet on with the visor on, so you couldn't actually tell who he was. Mm-hmm. But because just with how extensive the surveillance is in Vegas, and every hotel has, you know, the front entrance, this entrance, that entrance, all under surveillance, there's a point where he's caught before the crime committed with the helmet off. So
Jeez.
That's okay. But that actually isn't at the end what ended up getting him caught. So I'll get into that to kind of Beck's point about what is he going to do with all these chips. And they're not chips from a bunch of hotels. It's literally the Bellagio.
Yeah.
So essentially, Carlo arrived at the Bellagio Hotel and the casino around 4 a.m. on Tuesday, which was December 14th, with a plan to put his beliefs to a test. So I mentioned his beliefs that he can do this crime. He's got this. He's the man. Mm-hmm. So he parked his Suzuki motorcycle near the valet stand, backing the bike into a little service pass so that its front tire pointed away from the casino. He wore dark coveralls, rubber gloves, and a motorcycle helmet with the visor down. In his left hand, hidden inside his front pocket, was a gun. I wasn't quite able to find out how he had the gun, where he acquired the gun, but I believe in Vegas you're able to carry with a permit.
Pretty sure, yeah. Most states you can, if not all.
Yeah, and what was interesting too, like looking at some of his history, the reason he was living in Vegas, he was actually going to the university there. Altogether, he was actually a smart student. So this was kind of just super sideways, and it sounded kind of like one bad idea leading to another that escalated to like a whole bunch of like bullshit.
Yeah.
But I guess what happens in Vegas, in this case, stays in Vegas because he's in jail.
Mm-hmm.
So to quote him, he didn't actually intend to use the gun for anything other than deterrence, but you have to have bullets in it. Otherwise, a gun is just a paperweight. The days leading up to this biker bandit heist, he is quoted to have said that he felt like a predator stalking his prey. So he'd actually walk around the Bellagio just to see the table, set the scene. Where would be the best point? I mean, it's great to hear actually had some planning versus like, I'm just going to roll in my motorcycle and do the damn thing.
But also a little sad that he did planning and still took his helmet off during the heist.
Well, it was quite a bit before, but because you're able to track, his movements before and after, when do you think you're in the clear, right?
You basically shouldn't take that helmet off until you're back at your home.
I don't know, put a balaclava on, put the helmet on, and then whatever. I mean, I'm no mastermind myself, right? So the video that I mentioned earlier, which we'll post, essentially shows him running up to the table. The stick man, the dealers, and the players lurch back. One man dove to the side, literally like a stunt man in an action film. I don't know how this guy moved so quickly, but he did, got out of the way. And what Carleo ended up stealing were millions of dollars worth of purple and yellow and red, white, and blue chips right in front of the dealer. Essentially, he just took as many as he could grab. He shoveled handful after handful into his backpack that he wore backwards across his chest. So there was stacks of $1,000 and $5,000 chips spilled across the table. To quote him, he had big plans for that night. He was going to rob the poker room. He was going to do a smash and grab at the cardio shop. But then essentially, and I quote him, fight or flight kicked in and I flew. So after the craps table, freaked out and just had to get out of there. But, I mean, at the end of the day, too, he ended up walking away with $1.5 million, right? Yeah. So he got what he wanted. And this is where it also gets worse. So from where he had parked his bike to the craps table that he had picked, it was about 200 yards back from the casino to his bike.
Yeah.
And he's quoted as saying that he has an old knee injury and that the extra layers of clothing that he wore under his coveralls made his movements feel like running through surf. So he wasn't quite in shape for the distance that he picked.
Oh, no.
Yeah, so that was great. And also because he still had the visor down on his helmet, because of the running and panting, he actually couldn't see because it ended up getting foggy inside. I mean, he's by no means, kind of a criminal mastermind. So, however, because the visor had been blocked, he actually had almost no peripheral vision, and he couldn't see whether someone was actually going to come between him and the doors, him and the bike and anything.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But there was some attendants, valet attendants specifically, who tried to block his path, but he essentially ended up waving his pistol and they all fled.
Makes sense. Yeah.
I don't blame them, right?
No, I would run too.
Yeah, so as I mentioned earlier, it wasn't a Sunset Road, it was Flamingo Road that he ended up driving away into the desert night. So to talk a little bit more just about Carleo, before I get into how he was caught and just some of the other fantastic quotes he was noted as saying. As I said, he was 29 years old and he had moved to Las Vegas to take classes at the University of Nevada. He actually wanted to apply to medical school after he graduated. He took over a spare room in the house of his father, who was the municipal court judge, George Assad, and he tried to keep his life on the straight and narrow. He actually had a bulletin board in his apartment with photographs of his cousin, Augie, who actually died from an overdose, which he wrote the words, "Succeed for me." So he wanted to do better. Mm-hmm. Why ended up going on a coke rage drunk tirade to rob a casino? I don't quite understand.
Yeah, like the complete opposite of what your bulletin board is telling you to do.
Yeah, no shit.
But we don't understand, but I have his words of why he did it. So this is great. And I quote, "My father, my stepfather, my uncle, they all had money. Nice suits, nice cars, nice houses. But they all worked for it and hard to get it. Me, I didn't have time for that. I was too impatient."
Fucking idiot.
That's not a reason. It's a bullshit excuse.
He's an idiot, right? So it gets better. Going back to kind of the issue of stealing chips versus stealing cash, because he had stolen chips instead of cash, he was really only a millionaire inside the Bellagio casino. Mm-hmm. Because outside of that, he's irrelevant. So he would have to park his car in the casino garage, ride to the casino's elevator, walk the casino's marble floors, and watch under the watchful eyes of thousands of cameras. He literally came back to the casino a couple of nights after the robbery to start gambling away his chips. What was interesting to find is that even though he was losing, he didn't care because he would just cash out the other chips he had, and he would be walking away anywhere from $20,000 to $30,000. So he just cashed them out, which is good because then he had money. He was rich outside of the Bellagio.
Yeah.
What's interesting is that Carleo finally did come to the attention of casino management. However, not as a suspected criminal. They identified him as a high roller. They put him up in the hotel, special suit, valet, service, food, comp, because he's spending just thousands of dollars and cashing in. Which I think is nuts because he literally just robbed you, which is the money he's using, and now you're putting him up in your hotel for free.
Yeah. Oh, he's living life at least.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's crazy. So he ended up getting $600 a night suite for free, comped. Yeah, there's video footage of him actually riding the elevator down from his room in a beige velour tracksuit with a golden Bellagio B embroidered on the chest.
Why do they even make those?
Who cares what he made them? But he literally just robbed this place, and just to be so brazen and to I'm like walking around like the shit. It's incredible.
It's hilarious.
Yeah. So next, let's obviously talk about him getting caught, right? So The biggest issue is some of the chips that he had stolen, a wide range of chip denominations, including ones worth $25,000 per chip.
Oh.
So they were a unique, almost like cranberry color. So what ended up happening is because of the theft that happened at the Bellagio, they actually put those out of service. So they took them out of rotation.
Mm-hmm.
So he couldn't cash in the $25,000 chips, which of course causes a wrench in his plans.
Yeah.
Essentially, he's sitting on that money and he can't do anything with it. It's not like he can go cash it in somewhere else.
That sure fucks people over that actually won them or bought them legitimately, though.
But why would you buy the chips, right? Like,
oh, some people are high rollers and they roll that way,
but maybe with a receipt or something, you can prove that it was a purchase made, right? Like, or credit card history, or however I don't know, right?
Yeah.
There's something. So,
even if it's a signal to them to question those people, innocent people would be like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, definitely.
Check the cameras. You'll see me with my big fat cowboy hat buying this.
You know what I mean? Like, it's, yeah. So, as I mentioned earlier, obviously my biker bandit wasn't the smartest guy.
Shock.
So he ended up actually going onto an internet poker website where it's like a forum. Use the email address cranberrykid25@yahoo.com because cranberry and 25,000.
Wow.
Which is a reference to the color of the $25 chip.
Yeah.
He actually signed his emails Biker Bandit.
No.
Jesus Christ.
So on this forum, he actually met a poker enthusiast named Matthew Brooks, and he was interested in buying some chips. But through conversation, he's like, he asked for proof, and I'll include the picture. But it's actually a picture of some of the chips on a piece of paper with him in his own handwriting, writing Biker Bandit to prove that, no, he actually does have hold of these chips. So what this Mr. Brooks had done, he actually just went to the FBI. He's like...
Yeah. Mr. Brooks at notthefbi.com.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, no. Mr. Brooks is the good guy who turned him in, right?
No,
Like,
I know, but I'm just saying, like, don't be so stupid. Of course someone's going to turn you in.
So, long story short, through just some work with that and combined efforts, they were able to set up a sting. Like, they were going to sell some chips, and he ended up trying to sell them to undercover police officers.
Shocking.
Nice.
He was arrested. He didn't go, like, no fights, nothing. He went peacefully with them. Obviously, later on admitted to it. But yeah, that's my story of my biker bandit.
Well, he's an idiot.
Yes, he is.
You know what? Like, well, as I said, I will post the video, right? Like, looks super badass. Definitely something out of, like, Ocean's 11. Super cool. Whatever, right? But, like, come on.
Yeah.
And then selling them as a Cranberry Kid 25 and citing it as
You're
the
not
biker
even trying.
bandit.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, you're a douchebag.
come on, right?
Yeah.
I mean, with how many other chips he had, live on that, right? Like, they will eventually... Not will. I would assume eventually they'll bring those chips maybe potentially back into rotation.
I would think so, yeah.
Or lay low for like a year or two. I don't know. And at the end of the day, too, he obviously sounded like school-wise, he was smart. Going to be applying for medical school and all of these things. What the hell are you doing? Mm-hmm. But yeah, that's my story.
Awesome.
Cool.
Greedy bastard.
No doubt.
This episode of Brew Crime is sponsored by podcorn.com. Hey, fellow podcasters, this is Nina. Do you find it hard to produce your show? Are you bleeding money on audio hosting, your website, and or equipment? We have the service that will work for you. We have been using podcorn.com for a few months now, and it has made all the difference. They help find sponsors that are looking to work with podcasts just like you. They supply the connections to brand, and you can reach out and pitch your ideas to them. You set the price with your pitch for things like pre-roll and mid-roll ads, contests, guest interviews, and more. We have been lucky enough to work with some amazing sponsors through Podcorn, including Best Fiends, Ball Wash, and Podcorn itself. With Podcorn, there is no middleman getting in the way, and Podcorn is there to help podcasts of all sizes from tiny to massive. This service will never ask for any creative control of your show, as you never give up any creative rights. We would not be as successful as we are today without the amazing help of the team at Podcorn. So if you're looking to take your podcast to the next level, make sure to head to podcorn.com now and sign up. You will not be disappointed with your choices. Head to podcorn.com now to take your next step in podcasting.
All right, I called this story, I'd like to make a withdrawal. To pair that, I've got the Twin Sails Brewing Bachelor Pad Double IPA. It's 8.3% alcohol, 48 IBU. And I'm seeing here on their website, it's made with their favorite hop combo. This one's got Citra, Mosaic, and Simcoe hops, and a mixture of both pellets and lupulin powder. 2 massive dry hops give this beer a huge hop-forward aroma and flavor with big notes of citrus, pineapple, mango, and a bit of dankness.
Yum, fruity.
And this beer won a gold in the double IPA category at the 2017 BC Beer Awards. And at that awards, they swept the double IPA category.
Cool.
All right, so we'll crack this open. So this beer it looks like orange juice. It's so cloudy and orange. It's got a white head.
Looks like orange juice because it's orange. Yeah. Good, Mike. Really pulling out the straws here.
No, but it looks like it.
No, I'm kidding. I'm just being butthurt.
It's got some floral notes. It's definitely got lots of fruit aromas. It smells like it's got a massive drop of hops in there. It's just a lot of dankness. You can tell there's a lot of
hoppy
hop in there, like a lot of like vegetable matter or whatever. It's very fruity. There's definitely some bitterness in there and some resin. It's not as bitter as the IPAs you don't like, right?
Yeah, no, it's not.
It does look pretty.
And at least to me, it doesn't taste like it's 8.3% alcohol.
Oh, it doesn't, which is dangerous.
Yeah. It's not as fruity as it could be, but it's definitely not really, really bitter.
Put some Skittles in it.
Go ahead.
Did you tell us what your story's about?
I did.
Oh, I'm just kidding.
The title was, I Would Like to Make a Withdrawal.
Oh, right. Just the title, but not what it's about.
No, not yet.
Okay, good. I was like, whoa.
It's a secret.
All right. Get ready.
So this is called the Bachelor Pad, right? Bill Brennan was a nobody. He was a loner who lived alone with his cat. He also worked at the sports book at the now demolished Stardust Resort and Casino. So, he's in his bachelor pad.
Cool. Mm-hmm.
His former boss, Scott Shetler, would later say that he was a humble and pleasant guy. Because he was honest and would accurately report the tickets that came in, he was promoted to a cashier.
That's some low standards that they've got there.
Yeah. At some point, his attitude seemed to change, though, and it is thought that someone was being a bad influence on Bill. He had befriended one of the gamblers that would often come into the sports book, and he seemed to be kind of a worrisome type. This is a quote from his boss. He got influenced by outside sources, and his attitude changed, and he wanted desperately to be a supervisor. But with this change in attitude, I couldn't put him in charge of all that money, Shetler said.
Which is fair.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Things changed in the very early morning of September 22nd, 1992. Bill was finishing up his shift like he had every other work day for the last 4 years. But on this day, Bill did not turn in his cash and casino chips into the sports book on the end of his shift. He didn't pull out any guns or make any threats, as no one even noticed that he had missed a step this morning.
Jesus. It's kind of sad, too, because it's just like, that's how much you don't matter.
Yeah.
But you just don't even realize that you're not here. You're not doing something.
Exactly, yeah.
It's sad.
The crazy part is that while I know things were different in 1992, Bill was never once caught on camera while he was walking out with the cash and chips. Like, not once. And there were still cameras everywhere.
Wow.
The part that was just so crazy is that he did this with cash and chips worth $507,361.
Holy crap.
So he walked out of the casino with just over $500,000 in 1992. In 2020, that cash value would be closer to $952,408, according to an inflation calculator. Almost $1 million just walk out the door. So when the casino realized what had happened, they called the police, and the police were mobilized. They rushed to his apartment to find him, and he was nowhere to be found. Neither was his cat.
Oh no, the kitty.
He had just disappeared like a ghost. This disappearing act would have his name added to the FBI's most wanted list. When they still could not find him, he would end up a subject on a TV show, America's Most Wanted.
Yeah.
Nailed it.
Mm-hmm.
He would actually never be seen again in Las Vegas, his home state of Pennsylvania, or anywhere else in the world.
So he sounds like a lot smarter than my guy. He didn't go back to the same hotel 3 days later?
So the real question is, what happened to our friend Bill Brennan? Did he really disappear and fabricate a persona and move somewhere else in the USA? Maybe Canada, Mexico, or somewhere else? We may never know, but there are a few conspiracies that we can quickly talk about.
What?
One is that he was working with his shady friend on a plan and they had worked together to make this heist happen. Or that man may have even pushed him to do it. Once they had pulled off the caper, they disappeared. The next idea is that he may have been working with that same friend, but once the money was stolen, that friend killed him.
But the cat's okay, right?
Yeah,
No
where's
fucking
the
clue.
pussycat?
The cat's okay. That's what
Oh,
matters.
yeah, it must be. There are some that think that he either got involved with organized crime, and if this is the case, it is likely that he is sleeping the long sleep with some fish. You decide that you don't like the deal with organized crime, and they just whack you. Mm-hmm. A less than plausible conspiracy is that he completely changed his look and continued to live and work in Las Vegas. This definitely seems to be the least likely option, as life is not Ocean's 11.
But I mean, if he was so invisible that he wasn't caught on any camera, is it really that implausible?
But I mean,
Inconceivable, yeah.
they would still have photos of you as a staff member, right? It's just when he stole the money, they didn't have any pictures of him.
Yeah. I mean, realistically, I don't believe that's what happened.
Yeah.
But if you're such an invisible person,
Yeah, I know.
would it be that hard to get a different identity?
He probably is one of those commercials that he's identity theft moved up to Mantuba. He's playing hockey sticky puck.
If you steal that much money, though, are you really staying in Vegas?
I don't
Going
think
to
so.
Puerto Rico or Mexico or somewhere tropical
Or anywhere
and
else.
cool.
Yeah.
Or cold Canada.
Well,
Probably not.
yeah.
All I do know is that it has been 27 years since the theft of a mountain of cash, and he is, to this day, nowhere. Dead or alive, he still has never contacted any of his surviving family. Now, on November 1st, 2006, only 14 years after this crime, the Stardust Casino and Resort was turned not into Stardust, but rubble, as it was imploded to build a new casino. At the time, Bill Brennan's case was dismissed by the U.S. Attorney's Office in Nevada. This means that as of the end of 2006, he was no longer wanted by the police and would be free to surface again. But it has been crickets for the last 13 years since the implosion, though, so I doubt that if Bill is alive, he does ever show up.
Yeah, no way.
No.
To finish this off, I would like to use this quote here. Would this be possible today? Probably not, Metro Police Sergeant John Shannon said. Yeah, you just couldn't fucking walk out of a casino today with $1 million, no matter if you're staff or not.
Well, even just looking at the crazy camera systems they have and all of that.
Yeah.
Because now literally, every inch of the floor is covered,
Oh, yeah,
right?
every inch.
But it's, I don't know. It's insane.
Oh, and I'm sure they have all kinds of, you could get heat sensors nowadays and stuff. You could watch someone's body temperature to see if you think they're lying and get closer to them. There's all kinds of weird shit they have nowadays. There's no fucking way you'd get away with this today. Mm-hmm. Unless you're coming in guns a-blazing. But yeah, that's my story.
Yeah, no, it's super cool. Super cool that
It's just so bizarre. What happened?
But it's kind of badass. Ashley hasn't been caught. He obviously hasn't. Who knows? Maybe he has been in media or something, right? In whatever country. But it's kind of cool.
He's probably dead. It's most likely he's
What year
just
was
gone.
this?
1990... 1996, I think.
But other than just conspiracy theories that he's involved with,
92.
Another criminal activity or whatever, that's just conspiracies.
Yeah.
There's no actual proof of that, right?
No,
So
there's no proof of anything once he left.
No, and at his age, it was, let's say, 25 years ago, it wasn't,
Yeah.
but you know what I mean? If he went, realistically, he'd be smart to go to a different country where that money would literally last a lifetime. You'd be well off.
Jeez, back in 92, $1 million probably would have lasted a lifetime. It's nothing now comparatively, but...
No, but in other countries, he'd still be living the high life off of that.
Go to Southeast Asia or something?
Yeah.
No problem.
So who knows? It's all conjecture, but
It's so cool.
But it's
fun
fun.
to think about, yeah.
Awesome.
Who's the real victim? Vegas? Fuck.
They rob people millions and millions of dollars each day.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So...
This episode has been sponsored by Best Fiends. Hey, this is Mike again, talking to you about my favorite mobile game, Best Fiends. I cannot get enough of kicking the snot out of the dastardly slugs in this game. Who knew I'd be working with the bugs to defeat the evil empire? Puzzle games are just a great way to kill some time, and this gets you to match colored symbols to help beat the slugs. There are special pieces like bombs to help work towards your goal to boot. As you beat the slugs, you will collect resources and keys to help upgrade your cute little bugs. I've made it to level 330 now, and I am also still working on Lug's Loot Balloon special mission, but I am also working on the latest special mission, JoJo's Quest, and I've made it to level 29 of 30 now. I keep pulling this game out daily to try and progress even further in the game. It is just too much fun not to load it up on your phone. But this isn't a hardcore game like so many gamers play, but just a casual puzzle game. You can come and go as you please and enjoy the bright colors and the cool look of the game. I used to play other games on my phone, but this is the only game I load up now. So engage your brain with fun puzzles and collect tons of cute characters. Trust me, with over 100 million downloads, this 5-star rated mobile puzzle game is a must-play. Download Best Fiends free on Apple App Store or Google Play. That's friends without the R. Best Fiends.
When all else fails, join the circus. Or in this case, Rob's Circus.
Why not, right?
So the beer that I picked for this is Barkerville Brewing Company High Stakes Imperial IPA.
Woohoo! They got a cool little brewery in Quesnel, too. If you're going to drive a long distance, go visit them.
You should usually read the label before you open the bottle so you don't have to...
No, it's fine.
Just
Spill.
force it out.
Okay. The gold mine you've been searching for. This 80 IBU mother load of kettle hops includes Columbus, Chinook, and Cascade, followed by dry hopping with Amarillo, Citra, and Centennial.
Nom 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 nom.
Let's have a taste.
It's a cloudy, kind of orangey yellow. There's some floaties in it. It's a white head. Smells kind of floral. Hints of some grain and maybe some citrusy fruit. Definitely some like caramel malts going on there. Kind of herbal. It's not as bitter as I expected. Mm-hmm. It's almost like it's subdued. Maybe it's not super fresh. I don't know. It's hard to tell when the breweries don't put brewed aids on them. It's not bad, but I was hoping for a little more punch. It's probably good for you because you don't like big bitter beers, but I expect it to be kind of bitter.
Mm-hmm.
I don't hate this one.
And right there it says, I don't think it's fresh. It's not bad, though. It's been a while since I've had it, so I can't compare it to a recent bottle myself. All right, well, let's get into it.
Jinx.
So this is actually a beer that I picked ahead of us picking this topic. Just because better. I saw the high stakes, and you kind of have to see the bottle artwork to see how Vegas it is. It's very gold glittery.
It's pretty.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It is a nice looking bottle.
Speaks Vegas.
It was a gold rush town, so nice.
Yeah. So
I should actually say it's kind of more English IPA like, which I don't know if it was supposed to be, but that's kind of what I'm getting out of it.
Into my case. Roberto Solis was born September 6th, 1945. Wikipedia lists his occupation as poet, which seems pretty damn generous considering he was a multi-offender who was convicted of murder in 1969.
Oh, nice.
He has more than 30 aliases, but carefully selected the delightful name of Pancho Aguila as his pen name. Not what I would have gone with, but okay.
You know, I mean, Pancho. I don't get it.
Like, it's your pen name. You can pick anything.
Yeah, for sure.
Then you
want
go with Pancho.
Pancho Aguila. Okay. In 1969, Roberto killed a security guard during an attempted robbery at a Woolworth store in San Francisco. Roberto, along with two accomplices, approached the armored truck driver, Luis Dake, and demanded all the money. Luis showed them that his money bag was completely empty. He hadn't actually started to pick up any money yet. They caught him before his first pickup.
So poorly planned.
Yeah.
Understatement. Yeah. Really great work, guys. Good planning. Instead of fleeing the scene, Roberto shot Luis twice in the back. He was caught, found guilty, and sentenced to life in prison. He escaped, but was soon recaptured and went on to serve 17 more years in prison. It was during this time that he became known as a poet. He wrote 5 books and was included in 6 anthologies while still in prison.
Holy shit.
What's an anthology?
It's like a collection of works.
Yeah.
Okay. And he's the guy who came up with Poncho something.
Yeah, he
Interesting.
chose that name.
Think of like a mixed poetry book or whatever.
Yeah. He captured the attention of some well-known writers who asked the parole board to grant him leniency. He was given parole in September of 1991. I don't really understand how he gets life in prison, tries to escape, which is like the biggest infraction you can make while in prison.
Other than killing someone.
And still gets out early on parole.
Yeah.
But why did they ask for leniency?
Because they felt that he had changed his ways and, you know, he wasn't the same young, irrational killer that he had been. And
3 months ago.
He's a poet.
Yeah.
You know?
And you know it.
Yeah. Haha. But the fact remains that he killed an innocent man that was just trying to do his job to help take care of his 6 kids. That man that he killed had 6 kids that he was taking care of. But Roberto was released on parole after serving his time, after serving some of his time. But he was soon back in jail for the ever so classy crime of selling drugs near a elementary school.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
To the kids or just near?
Well, not to the kids. I mean, I don't know.
Well,
Right.
yeah.
But he was selling drugs close to a school.
It's a bad spot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But unbelievably, he was released again in 1992.
Of course he was.
Roberto is only one part of this story, though. Heather Tallchief was born January 7th, 1972, in Buffalo, New York. Her parents divorced when she was young. Her father, Fred, was granted sole custody, even though he was a drug addict at the time. He was an alcoholic that hated the taste of alcohol, so he would sniff glue before he started drinking so that he wouldn't be able to taste the alcohol.
Wow.
Fred
Does
said,
that work? Asking for a friend. I'm kidding.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Fred said that he basically spent the next 12 years of his life like this. He eventually remarried and got sober when Heather was about 8 years old. He readily admits that he made a lot of mistakes with Heather. She was the oldest, and he really had no idea what he was doing as a father.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah. At 20 years old, Heather moved to San Francisco. She worked in a hospice with terminally ill cancer and AIDS patients. It was a very difficult job that took an emotional toll on her. Needless to say, there was a lot of death. She was also in a not-so-healthy relationship. These stressors combined led her to drugs. She soon lost her job, which is sad, and also lost her shitty boyfriend, which is super awesome.
Yeah, it's sad too, because if you're in a horrible, or it's not, the job isn't horrible, but the situation is horrible where all the patients are going to die probably, you've got to have a strong emotional support team to do that job. And if they're terrible, your life's going to be rough.
Yeah, and it wasn't just that she didn't have a good support team. She was so young. She didn't have the experience
That's true, too.
behind her either.
But you said her partner was shitty
An
partner,
asshole.
right?
Yeah.
Like you have to have
Bare minimum. Someone to support you.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly, yeah.
Because anyone's going to struggle with that position. It's just
Definitely.
It's tough.
So shortly after Heather turned 21, she was out at a bar and met Roberto Solis. She was 27 years younger than him, but
Jeez.
why let something like being old enough to be her father get in the way?
Of course. Yeah.
Yeah, so he went over to talk to her that night and bought her drinks, and she found him very interesting and attractive. She found him so attractive, in fact, that she went home with him that very night.
God.
And that, whatever, okay, fine. I'm not going to
I mean, as
shame
long as
anyone
she
for
is-
doing that. But
As long as she's of age, then whatever.
But still, 27 years.
27-year age
Yeah.
difference is huge.
It
Yeah.
is. It's less huge if you're 80, but it's still huge.
Yeah.
Yeah, but still, like,
Yeah.
my mom's 20. My mom was 24 when she had me.
Yeah.
That's a thing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's what, 27 you said?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of people
She
that
was
have kids way
21
younger.
and he was 48.
So yeah, 27 years difference, right?
Yeah.
That's
I mean,
insane.
There's a lot of kids that have, or a lot of kids that have kids at like 17. So yeah,
Yeah.
you can be pretty young.
But
and have
21
kids.
and 48.
Is a
Oh,
big.
dear.
Yeah, it's a little rough. It's a little rough.
Anyways.
So he became even more interesting when they arrived at his apartment, because when she walked into his living room, the first thing she noticed was the large altar that he had set up. It had candles, crystals, incense, a goat's skull, and 2 chalices. One of the chalices was full of a red liquid meant to represent menstrual blood, or like women giving birth, creation, fertility, etc.
Okay.
That doesn't really make sense biologically, because menstrual blood means that it's after the time that you can give birth and whatever. That's basic biology, but okay, whatever. And the other was full of goat's milk, because you need milk to raise the aforementioned life and nurture it once it's created.
Yeah. If you're going out of your way to find milk, why not just go with cow's milk?
Okay.
Goat's
well,
milk?
if you also walk into someone's house and that's the first thing you see, you should turn around, walk away, and call the popo. Because that's at least like, you should probably check
I think
a
I
goat's
just get out.
head. No, you got it. That's fucking weird.
But there's nothing illegal
There's
there.
nothing illegal about it,
But
though.
it is definitely odd.
How do you
Get
acquire
out.
a goat's head?
Butcher?
Or just hiking.
It's just a skull.
Oh, okay.
It wasn't like a rotting goat's head or anything.
Okay, I was gonna be like, that's
And goat's milk, also, you can get that at the grocery
You
store.
can. It's
No, I know
easier
that,
to
I know
get cow
that.
milk. That's why I joked that why not just go
yeah,
with
no.
cow's milk.
I've had goat's milk. Goat milk is great, but still,
Goat cheese is great.
drunken goat
Soap.
cheese.
Okay. So Heather was very intrigued and agreed to let this obviously spiritual man read her tarot cards.
Obviously,
It was such a moving experience for her that she still remembered it years later. One card was fortune, and one card was temptress or lust. And apparently this meant that she was destined to start on a spiritual path, an awakening that would be led by a great and knowledgeable person.
wow. I wonder who that's gonna be.
Yep. I'm willing to bet that Roberto knew who that person would be. Just like because it was in the cards, not because he was a fucking con man. But what spiritual path was he taking Heather on? Apparently this form of spirituality is called sex magic. There is a K on the end of the word magic.
Yeah.
And apparently sex magic is a real form of spirituality. So I don't want to rag on it too much, because there are people who are like, this is my thing and whatever. But to me, it sounds a little bit fishy in this context, in that he read her tarot cards and it read something that just happened to be perfectly convenient for him. And you know what I mean? I
Yeah.
just think that he's twisting what could be a perfectly okay form of spirituality
Yeah.
to suit himself. You know what I mean? Which
Well-
is what people fucking do.
Well, it's just
from
like
time to
nothing
time.
wrong with sex, but there's ways sex can be wrong.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing wrong with sex magic as long as it's being done for the right reasons. And if you're using it
Yes.
for the wrong reasons, it's bad.
Exactly. But it was from that night on that they were together. That was it. And after a couple of weeks, he told her about his previous crimes and about the time that he had spent in jail. Which, okay, at least he was honest
It's
about
not hiding
that.
anything.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But he claimed that it was an accident, that the shooting was an accident, and that he regretted it every day since it happened. But I'm like, how do you accidentally shoot someone multiple times in the back? Like, that doesn't sound like an accident to me.
No, it doesn't.
But she believed him because love is blind and foolish. Roberto soon suggested that they move to Las Vegas together because he felt that he was in a position to beat all the odds that Vegas could offer. When they got settled in Vegas, Roberto suggested that Heather find a job. He was even kind enough to bring home applications for her.
How sweet.
How so thoughtful. Heather claims that she didn't give much thought to the fact that he seemed to be guiding her towards armored car service, and the fact that he had killed a Loomis guard years earlier didn't really occur to her. Considering she had just gotten her first driver's license, she was stunned when she got the job as an armored car driver.
Wow.
Roberto, however, was quite pleased.
Sure he was.
You can see where this was going. Roberto chose a date for the heist to take place. It was on October 1st, 1993, only 2 months after Heather had started her job. When it comes to Roberto and how the heist was initiated, Heather is kind of all over the place. At one point she says that he told her to take the money. She was under strict orders, and if she did anything wrong, she'd be killed on the spot. She also claims that each day before work, he played a videotape for her. She said that a man's voice came in, the tape would go into a colorful swirl, the voice would count from 10 to 1, and then she'd wake up and the tape was finished. She now believes she was hypnotized by him.
It's like some Zoolander shit.
So she did it because she was hypnotized, or because he threatened her life, or what? I don't know. Can't really be both. So I'm definitely torn about this. On one hand, it seems a little over the top and ridiculous, but on the other hand, she was in a very vulnerable time when they met, and he's the kind of that guy that would have recognized this and completely taken advantage.
Yeah, definitely.
She goes on to describe Roberto as an extraordinarily devout in his beliefs. He was really sincere, faithful, and pious. She says that she wanted to be like him and just to make him proud. And it just came across to me as a little bit like Stockholm Syndrome.
Yeah, a little bit, yeah.
Because all of these statements were made years after the heist had taken place. And it's like, is this something he did to you? And in which case, then why are you defending him so much? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It just sounds like she might be still confused about it, like, or unsure of what is what, right?
Yeah, it's like she can't help but want to say good things about him. It's really confusing. It's odd. I don't know. Back to the heist. On October 1st, 1993, Heather dropped her 2 co-workers at the drop-off point at Circus. So, quick side note, I actually know what I was doing on this day in 1993.
No way.
So it was a Friday, and I would have been in grade 7 at the time, and I would have been writing only in blue pen and underlining all of my titles twice with a red pen and a ruler because my 7th grade teacher was obsessed with the idea that was something that would matter once I got to college. That everything in my adult life would have to be in blue pen, and all the titles would have to be underlined twice in red pen and a ruler, and I would have to have the date, and it would have to be underlined, and it was like, spoiler alert.
Crazy talk.
My college professors didn't give a shit, and I could have written in crayon. It didn't matter, so why don't you just relax about it?
Yeah, exactly. That sounds kind of nuts.
So after school that day, my sister and some friends and I skipped our bus home and would have been waiting at the school for my mom to come and pick us up because we were having a slumber party for my birthday.
Woohoo!
Mm-hmm.
Your birthdays.
My birthday. Anyway, back to the story. Heather's 2 co-workers went through the Circus Casino, refilling the ATMs with the cash that would be needed for the very busy weekend that was coming up.
Of course.
And the meeting spot would have been at the opposite side of the casino 20 minutes later. So they get dropped off at point A, takes them 20 minutes, fill, picked up at point B 20 minutes later. It was all very planned, obviously, for security reasons. They get there, there's no van. Where's Heather? They don't know. So they radio her a few times, no answer. They're getting more and more worried. Was she in an accident? Did she get kidnapped? Is there a heist underway? They don't know what's going on. They're very worried that she's in danger. They don't know what to do. They call the office. The office doesn't know where she is. The office sends a second van to pick them up with what's remaining of the cash that they have. GPS isn't actually a thing at this point.
Yeah.
Darn it.
Because it's 1993, so they have no way of knowing where the van is. And they call the local police. The local police quickly realize that they have no idea what to do because they have no evidence to go on, so they call the FBI. The FBI pulls local security footage, and they saw the weirdest thing. Heather drops off her co-workers and calmly drives away with a truck full of money. Nothing weird going on here.
Yeah, no.
Not at all going towards point B. Okay, cool. Where is she going? Well, that morning, Roberto had Heather memorize directions to a prearranged meeting area. She was to meet him at the meeting area in the armored van after leaving her two co-workers at Circus. This meeting spot was a warehouse space that Roberto had been renting. He had told the owner that he would be using it to service armored cars that needed repair. This way, if an armored car pulled up, it wouldn't be weird.
Yeah, of course.
He wouldn't need to report it at all. I don't want to give him kudos or anything, but that's pretty smart.
That's not dumb.
It's not
dumb.
Bad cover. So when Heather arrived, Roberto told her to get out of the van and immediately took her gun from her. Roberto seemed panicked and kept swearing and telling her to hurry up. She was told to start unloading the cash and to put them into large moving boxes that Roberto had ready. And once all the boxes were filled, they were shipped to a location, but she didn't know what that location was at this time.
Of course.
She was then told to put on a gray wig and color contacts. Roberto took a wheelchair out of the trunk of his car and told her to pretend she was old and sick. Only 2 hours after the heist started, Roberto and Heather were on a chartered flight to Denver.
Wow.
The pilots of this chartered flight, as well as the limo driver that met them in Denver, remembered some odd things about this couple, such as they were only carrying 2 small packages, no luggage at all, which seems,
super bizarre.
I don't have any clothes on this trip that I'm making that is so important that it involves a flight. Okay. Not only did Heather suddenly not need her wheelchair, she was wheeled to the plane and helped onto the plane, and then they landed in Denver, and not only did she just walk off and walk to the limousine, they forgot the wheelchair on the plane.
Wow.
It's a miracle. Denver heals.
Maybe it's the high altitude.
Maybe, but probably not.
Probably not.
Yeah, I don't think that's how that works.
So
they were closer to God and he helped her.
That's right. Praise Jeebus. The FBI went to Heather and Roberto's apartment where they found not really much, but a little something that will be revealed later. 3 days after the heist, the FBI found out about the chartered flight and about the limo in Denver. The pilots and the chauffeur were all too happy to share the ever-memorable odd couple that they had met. The chauffeur also let them know where he had taken the odd couple, but they had already moved on at this point. This location did turn up another address, but unfortunately it was just a mailbox in Miami. The mailbox contained 2 forged passports with entry into Suriname. That's in South America. The FBI didn't know if this was their real destination or just a red herring. Maybe it was where the money was initially sent, but they had already picked it up. I don't know. The FBI found the armored van at Roberto's warehouse space 2 weeks after the heist. Heather's work outfit, a weapon, and the unused mail supplies were found, as well as some of the money. I guess they just couldn't carry all of the $3.1 million that they had stolen.
Holy snap.
Crimea River. It was just too much to pack
like
into the mail.
Yeah.
It's too much money to pack into the boxes that they had collected for the purpose. So Heather and Roberto eventually ended up settling in Amsterdam and living off the money that they had stolen. Heather says that Roberto was in complete control of the money. After about a year in Amsterdam, Heather realized that she was pregnant. She also realized that the life that she was living with Roberto was no way for a child to be brought up. When her son was 2 months old, she fled with what cash she had and limited belongings. She was afraid that Roberto would come looking for them, but she doesn't know that he ever bothered because she hasn't seen him since she left.
Wow.
For a brief period of time, she was a sex worker just to make ends meet.
That's sad.
And she then found a job as a chambermaid. She had given them a fake name and used a fake accent so they wouldn't know that she was American. Time passed, and she just took it day by day with her son. She actually met a man who would become a father to her son, the first father that he would never know. As her son got older, it became more and more difficult to stay hidden. Enrolling him in school must have been quite the task with a fake name. I'm not really sure how she managed that, but what the hell do I know about, school laws in other countries?
And at the time.
Yeah, but I guess I'm also assuming that she enrolled him in a school and didn't just homeschool him, but
True.
What the hell do I know, right? Heather made the tough decision to contact a lawyer in the States and start the process of turning herself in to the U.S. Marshals. She flew back to the States in September of 2005, but before turning herself in, she did a secret interview with Dateline, which is where I got a lot of the, according to Heather, information. So thanks for that, Dateline. According to Heather, she had no part in the planning of the crime. Quote, "I'd be lucky if I can coordinate an outfit in the morning, so there is no way I would do anything that complex in my life." End quote. Ugh. Authorities don't believe that Heather is as innocent as she's claiming to be. Mm-hmm. When they searched her place in Las Vegas after the heist, they found proof that Heather held multiple driver's licenses in a lot of different areas, but not just in her own name. So that doesn't really look so good.
Doesn't look good, no.
She claims she knew nothing about this and that she only ever had one driver's license, and that was her Nevada State driver's license. Former police sergeant Larry Dewey was shocked to hear that Heather had turned herself in. He assumed that since she had been gone so long that Roberto had killed her so he could keep all the money to himself.
Jeez.
Heather's family found out from the news and from friends who saw it on the news that she was back. She hadn't contacted them in over 12 years and still didn't, even though she was back in the country and had time to do an interview with Dateline.
Yeah, but what do you say? It's like, hi, so I'm back. Yep, I did some math stuff. This is my son.
Yeah, I mean, I get that it would be hard to know what to say, but it's like you have the time to set up an interview with Dateline, and you don't have time to call, like, your brother, your sister, like, father,
but maybe
anything.
Dateline episode airing will clear her name, and maybe the thought is like, okay, at least this way they see I'm not guilty, and then when I reach out for contact, they're going to know it wasn't me.
I guess.
I guess, yeah.
I mean, needless to say, it's complicated. That's for damn sure.
Definitely that, yeah.
Her younger brother, Skylar, who she's never met in person, was very forgiving about it and just wanted Heather to know that he loves her very much. Her younger sister, Elaine, on the other hand, was not happy with Heather. Because of the heist, but because she just disappeared, and also because she hadn't even tried to reach out, even though she was back in the States. Her father, Fred, tried to reach out, but was unsuccessful. She wasn't accepting any calls, and when he visited the jail, it was not her unit's turn to have visitors. He wanted to show her pictures of the nieces and nephews that she didn't even know existed, and a photo of Skylar, her brother that she'd never met. He was also hoping to hear about his grandson that was still back in Amsterdam.
Mm-hmm.
Heather's lawyer was able to negotiate a deal for her. On March 30, 2006, she was sentenced to 5 years in prison. While she was serving her time, she started a correspondence with her father, but from Heather's point of view at that time, a lot more healing needed to be done before she would be ready to become part of the family again. In June 2010, she was released on parole and pretty much disappeared again.
Jeez.
Roberto Solis has never been seen. What's weird to me is that before she turned herself in, there were so many people that were worried or assumed that Roberto killed Heather and kept the money. But how do we know that she didn't do the same thing?
Yeah.
Quite something to speculate, for sure.
It's like a Carla Homolka thing. Like, maybe she is the mastermind.
He's the one that's still gone, right? That's still sexism. But just in case he is still alive, he'd be about 5'10", 152 pounds, has hazel eyes, brown hair, and would be turning 75 this September.
Jeez.
He's still on the FBI website. So if you see him, give a call. Why not?
Yeah, no doubt.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
What a plot twist, though. She's the one who actually killed him.
Possibly, yeah.
Possibly. I mean, that was
Conjecture,
me just speculating.
But still, good conjecture.
Yeah. That's
All
it.
right.
That's my case.
Awesome.
All right. You can find us on any social media at Brew Crime. You can go to our website, brewcrime.com, to check out our website and get all our sources for the episodes. You can get some of our swag at brewcrime.threadless.com. If you want to get in touch with us, email us at brewcrime@pacificbeerchat.com. And we'd like to shout out to all of our Patreon supporters. You can go to patreon.com/brewcrime. So our Patreon supporters are 3 Beers In Podcast, Amber, Ange, Daniela, Nina's Mom, The Phase of Our Life Podcast, and True Crime Nana. Cheers.
Bye.
Brew Crime's intro was created by Mike using Creative Commons Attribution licensed audio from purple-planet.com, soundbible.com, and freesoundeffects.com. Logo design was by Ben Greenberg. All cases and stories were written by Beck, Nina, and Mike, and our sources are put into the show notes for each episode. We always want to give credit to the people that research the cases we talk about. Check out our store at brewcrime.threadless.com, where you can purchase swag like t-shirts, phone cases, beach towels, and all kinds of cool stuff. We can also be found on your favorite podcast apps, our host, Spreaker.com, or brewcrime.com, as well as at Brewcrime on Twitter, at Brewcrime on Facebook, at facebook.com/groups/brewcrime. Thanks for listening. This has been a production of Pacific Beer Chat.
Hi guys, Kira from Murder and More here. I am the solo host of the UK-based True Crime podcast, where each Sunday I tell you about a murder, disappearance, or serial killer, and I even have a conspiracy theory thrown in there. You can find us on Twitter at Murder and More, or head over to our website www.murderandmorepodcast.wordpress.com to find out more.
Hello, I'm Rich Ferraro. I host the Forest Ramble, the intelligent Nottingham Forest podcast. Every month I'm joined by Stephen Topless.
Hello.
And the Maradon in the Midlands.
Hello.
To review and discuss what's been happening at the City Ground.
We provide match reports, sharing our thoughts on what we have seen.
And our contributors Baz.
Hello.
And Jeremy.
Hello.
Chip in with analysis and nostalgia.
Subscribe to us wherever you get your podcasts, search for Forest Ramble on social media, or visit www.forestramble.com.
Oh.
What? Is that okay?
You just turned the cover, but not the microphone.
What do you mean turn the microphone? Why does it need to turn?
If you're going to turn the side.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Got it. That's okay.
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 Because then you're just talking to the side and it may not catch your voice great. There we go. No.
So my story is, as I mentioned earlier... Nope, just kidding. I'm going to just restart that again.
Okay.
Kitty.
Candy. Heartburn. Too much pizza. Back to the casino. sorry, it's just jumping around a little bit.
Jump away.
Wore, where the hell did I write the color?
Purple, yellow,
What color's
red,
cranberry?
white, and blue. Cranberry?
Reddish? Purpley.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Purpley.
You hear that barking?
Yeah.
It's the biggest asshole dog I've ever seen. It's this little Papillon.
Yeah.
And I love Papillons because I've met so many nice ones, but that thing's a little fucking asshole. And he's bit my shoe, bit Amber once, and the owners just laugh. Ready?
Okay.
Kittens. Yes, kitten. Meow. It's not really a kitten anymore, but it's still really cute.
I call all dogs puppies, so whatever.
They're puppers until they're woofers.
Exactly. You never know, Nina. You never know.
Sometimes you do know, though.
Dump it in the sink when you don't have to drink.
I know, it's okay. Thanks, Mom.
You call me your mom. That's not an insult. I love her.
It's funny, though.
And I have those Skittles, and now
This
this is
is-
going to taste funny.
Yeah.
Or better, because it's sour and you should have a sour mango.
No, but I had the Skittles.
You can definitely tell there's a lot of, like...
Burp. There's a lot of burp.
And it's not that he... things changed in the very early... Fuck, I wrote that really badly. Bill was finishing up... Oh.
Sorry.
it was like...
No,
I thought you were
my
doing
hands
that.
are cold, and I'm just trying to move them.
Sit
Sorry,
on them.
buddy.
Sit on them.
Oh.
You can't come in here.
They're like... those kids are nice. I've run into them in the elevator a couple times in the doors.
No goggles, no? Oopsie.
It burns! My ass! It burns!
You know what that reminds me of, Ann? Remember when we were at confirmation classes? Was it confirmation or what was the classes that we went to in the you know what I'm talking about? And those two siblings had a vinegar fight before they came to. What was that?
Idiots.
It burns.
My eyes. It burns.
Yeah. So we had first communion classes in the basement of the church, and these two siblings arrived, and they fucking reeked of vinegar. And they had a vinegar fight before they left. Got into so much trouble with their parents, but still had to go to class. And they reeked so bad. It was so funny.
Hey, vinegar smells better than BO, so hey. Oh, I like the smell of vinegar myself.
Spend some cash, get some cash back. With the
Depends on what
CVC
vinegar.
Dividend Visa
This is what it made me think of.
What is this?
That's the one I was talking about, Mike.
What does it say?
It shows
I love that it gets this little chirp in there.
That video was posted 9 years ago because I just found
Oh
it.
no.
This one's from... Yeah, that one's from 9 years, yeah. Just love it. It sounds so angry, but there's a little...
Let the body sit it.
Excuse me. Okay.
We're ready. Let's do this. 10 hours later, we're here. Started at the bottom, now we're almost
Five
there.
and a quarter. Floor.
I got a burp, hold on. I can feel it. It's cooking.
Burpy booty.
Okay, go. It might not. Just go.
Okay. When all else fails, join the circus. Or in this case, rob Circus. I fucking heard you.
I'm sorry.
Do it again.
It happens every time you start talking. I'm like, oh, it's going to happen. It might happen. Then nothing happens and like 4 words in. Okay, I'm ready.
I'm going to do it again.
Send her to the circus.
Belching artist.
Glug, glug,
Do you
glug.
want me to pee my pants?
You want some? I hope that's not you peeing your pants.
Yeah. Something wrong with your downstairs, if that's what it sounds like.
That's actually what it sounds like when I have the shits. It's just the river flows.
God.
A river doth flow.
Oh, good times.
Ode to Nina.
That's me.
Last I checked, it was, yep. Alright.
Let the bodies hit the floor. Let the bodies hit the floor.
No
Shouldn't have
context.
shown me that.
Mm-hmm. I wrote a sentence here that makes no sense, so I'm deleting it.
Burp.
Oh, right. Okay. Sorry.
Nice.
Nina.
Delete, delete,
Hey,
delete.
that wasn't me. You could hear the beard on that one.
The resonation.
The muffler. Roberto. No. Sorry. I'm going to have to retone that.